gap is now up to 1.6 seconds. The fastest lap of the race does go to James Walker. That's the first flying lap at racing speeds. So Walker appears to be the man who, in pre-season testing at Castle Combe, did appear to be the man in form. But it looks to me as if he's certainly living up to that, but not just in the dry conditions, but in the wet as well. And he's having another dive up the inside, this time into Cascades, and with so much confidence on the brakes, James Walker makes it through into the left-hander at Cascades, in now to a podium position. And the next target is going to be for second place, Steve Shaw in the 86.
Good morning. At least it was up until about 5 minutes ago, where you guessed it, my first ever races in the wet. If you're tuning in just now, there's a running joke on this channel. In fact, it's no longer a joke. There's a running theme that it's always wet when the camera comes out. Of all the days that I could do without it being wet, it's qualifying session for my first ever race at Oulton Park. So, welcome to the beginning of the Caterham Academy Series 2020. I'm about to go out for my qualifying session. It's a 15-minute session. You'll have to walk and talk because I'm running slightly late. 15-minute session, of which I have to have done 3 laps in order to qualify. Fastest of those laps obviously gets counted, and then races this afternoon. So I'm in a bit of a rush, such is the way of racings. But we'll debrief once I've got this session out of the way, this wet session out of it. Wish me luck. But first of all, I can't exaggerate enough, the lack of visibility in the rain is absurd. I mean, I think what I might do at some stage, maybe next track day it's wet, I'm going to put a GoPro in the window for you, just to sort of convey the lack of visibility. So all you've got in front of you really to judge what's going on is the other guy's fog light, which was super helpful. Came in and I didn't think it went very well. We made the mistake of putting Rain-X on a wet windscreen, which sort of turned into a light fog throughout the whole race. So it's not uncommon for Caterham drivers to take a cloth out with them and wipe a windscreen sort of mid-race, because it's got no roof. So the spray from the guy in front goes on the inside and ends up on the inside of your windscreen. So you've got rain on your visor, rain on the inside of the windscreen, rain on the outside of the windscreen, and then spray. So it's almost like driving through fog. Anyway, hadn't no idea where we placed. Turns out we're second. We are second. So that's actually a good thing, because the aerodynamics of these is similar to that of a breeze block. So what we want is to ideally use the guy in front as our aero tow, and hopefully at some stage we might be able to get the pull. So weirdly, this is going to sound counterintuitive. On the last lap, you don't necessarily want to be first, because the advantage you get from an aero tow is so dramatic that it can help you sort of slingshot your way past at the last minute. So I'm saying this as if I know what I'm talking about, but I actually haven't had a race yet. But second in the wet, not too bad. Happy with that. We're sat in the car because, well, let's put it this way. If you're having a picnic today, it would be called off. It is absolutely tipping it down. Now, there is some hospitality, but because we're in the after wake of COVID, it's all sort of cancelled and there's no seats to sit anywhere. So I'm sort of having my own little moment in the car here. When I stepped out of the car during qualifying and realised that P2, super high euphoria, everything's great. I've had an hour to sort of settle and mellow, and now I'm an hour away from my race. I'm not going to lie, the nerves now are starting to build. I've got that sort of twitch in my hands, and I'm going through the wet line in my head now of this track. I was wondering, might it ease? isn't. It's not doing that. We're going full JWW spec race. There's now standing water. It's just puddles lying across the circuits. But yeah, now it's a sort of waiting game, really. I guess everyone else treats this period however suits them best. It's quite a personal time because you end up sort of going into yourself thinking, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to start? That's the other thing. I've never done a wet racing start. So I don't know. I mean, I'm P2 on the grid right now. If I get the clutch control wrong and give it too many revs, I'm going to sit there spinning up and the guys behind me could just come straight past. So it's this really sort of strange balancing act between your own mind and the reality of the fact that you know how to do it, but as soon as you apply it under the race circumstances, all of a sudden it just becomes a lot more serious. So I'm sort of here now trying to lose myself in Instagram, sharing updates with you if you follow online. Also, this race is being streamed live, so that's also a spot of added pressure, and I've gone and amplified that by sharing the link on my Instagram. So let's see. So in a minute, it'll be helmet on, visor down, and when the visor goes down, that's it. Your mindset switches. All you think about is what's about to happen, and you'll be sat there in the holding area waiting to go out and join the grid. It'll be my first official race grid start as well, so wish me luck. See you on the other side.
We've gone through their test and handling day. They will then go on to the official test day to get to grips with the car in a racing environment as the race gets underway. And now up towards turn one for the first time. It's going to be quite a daring first couple of corners. Everyone's going to hit the brakes very tentatively and get very gently as they head into the right-hander at Old Hall for the first time. And let's see if we can work out exactly who is in front. So scrum their way through, and it'll either be one of two drivers in the front. Looks like James Walker has dropped down to 4th position, and up into 3rd place has come car number 11, Taylor O'Flanagan, in the yellow car. So out of Cascades, past Lakeside, which is plenty wet enough on the left-hand side without any more additional water. And now down towards the left-hander at Island Bend. And everyone's taking it nice and tentatively. Everyone's being sensible so far because it is, of course, their very first ever race start. And they're at first lap at racing conditions. There goes James Walker in the number 7 car. He started on the front row of the grid and looks to be back to around 4th position as they turn into the right-hander at Shellall's hairpin. A little too deep there from the car. Looks to try to go around the outside. We'll look at race numbers in a second once they've been able to head across the line. And that is number 25 in there. And that appears to be a very fast starting car. In fact, that's number 25. That's Dominic Mansberger. So he's dropped a couple of spots. Dominic from Germany. A couple of position changing here. Looks like James Walker's getting involved in the mix as well. And a battle there with Dominic as they head over Hilltop and down towards Hislops and Knickerbrook for the first time. And we'll take a look and see where they are on the live timing. Mansberger holding station ahead of James Walker, as we say, known as Mr. JWW, and he's having a look up the inside into Knickerbrook, and Mansberger just holds on around the outside line and keeps the position. So a good initial battle already, but everyone again appears to be driving superbly at the moment. Everyone's keeping it steady, everyone with rain lights on, wipers on, and headlights firmly on, because it's tricky enough in the Caterham Academy when you're competing your very first race. When it comes to doing so in wet conditions like this at a tricky circuit like Oulton Park, it's challenging at the best of times in the dry, but in the wet it's something else. So through the right-hander at Druids and underneath the bridge towards Lodge Corner for the first time. But there is a definitive leader out in front at the moment, and we'll catch numbers in a second once they come past timing for the first time. Little battle there, looks like it's going on towards the bottom of the top 10 as we see the other position change here. So across the line to end lap 1. And leader is Bush in the number 22. Then it's Shaw in 2nd place, so Flanagan's up to 3rd. Dominic Mansberger 4th, from Walker and Brown in the top 6. Then Timpson, Gibbons, Broom is up to 9th, and then Lovett rounds out the top 10. So they head across the line to complete their first racing lap. It's a 20-minute race for the Caterham Academy. It has been 15 in the past before, but they decided to make it a little bit longer. You can see Mansberger now coming under attack again from front row man James Walker as they head down through Cascades. And the amount of spray coming off the rear tyres, even with these small little Caterhams with a 1.6 litre engine, and they have road and race spec Academy tyres. They have track specs, sort of road spec suspension. It's all road legal cars. So what you can do with these cars is actually drive them on the road to and from as Walker looks down the outside into Shell Oils. Now it's more grip on the outside line, so he might well be able to make the move stick, and he does go around the outside. Impressive move from James Walker to move up a place. He takes 4th from Dominik Mansberger from Germany. His next target will be the yellow car in front of Taylor O'Flanagan. Taylor O'Flanagan and James Walker are having a great scrap heading down towards the Hislop chicane for the second time. We're seeing the rest of the field heading through, and you can see the different confidence levels there between the drivers in terms of their pace levels. And there's Walker again having another look up the inside, and there's contact. He clips the right rear wing of Taylor O'Flanagan, and Taylor might not totally appreciate that, but he's going to hold on to 3rd place anyway. Bush's lead when he came across the line first time by was 1.5 seconds, so he's been able to extend that a little further, and the gap is now up to 1.6 seconds. The fastest lap of the race does go to James Walker. That's the first flying lap at racing speeds. So Walker appears to be the man who, in pre-season testing at Castle Combe, did appear to be the man in form, but it looks to me as if he's certainly living up to that, but not just in the dry conditions, but in the wet as well. And he's having another dive up the inside, this time into Cascades, and with so much confidence on the brakes, James Walker makes it through into the left-hander at Cascades, in now to a podium position. And the next target is going to be for 2nd place, Steve Shaw in the 86. There is Hugo Bush, and now already you can see O'Flanagan trying to come back up the inside at Island Bend. Dominik Mansberger in the black and green car behind number 25 is not too far away. He may have an option, but already you can see how much that James Walker is closing into 2nd place. Steve Shaw really is having to fight pretty hard at the moment. Sorry, Simon Shaw, my apologies. Out of Shell Oils and down towards Britain's. And it's 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th all in a nose together. The gap was 1.6 seconds across the line at the end of lap number 2. And it's incredible how much confidence some of these drivers do have. Some of these drivers will have previous experience running track days. There's plenty of experience even driving supercars. Is James Walker. He's going again for 2nd place down the inside of Simon Shaw. Looks for the undercut and the switch back on the exit, and Shaw is so hesitant on the throttle. He's just trying to find the confidence in these conditions. Walker gets a little bit sideways as he tries to put the power on. He's almost on the bottom of the roll cage of Simon Shaw, saying, come on, put your foot down, let's go. But unfortunately, it looks like Simon's just struggling a little bit more as the rain continues to fall even harder, it looks as though, here, looking outside here at Oulton Park. But Hugo Bush has a clear lead in front. He's got the clearest vision of all. Everyone else has a face full of spray on their windscreen, and they're coping as best they can in the conditions. And Taylor O'Flanagan now, his next worry is going to be Dominik Mansberger. Oh, and James Walker's gone around. Walker sideways on the exit Lodge corner. Off the road goes Taylor O'Flanagan. He's got damage to the right rear wing, but he carries on. And the car that was there in 6th position, that was Timpson in number 4, had to check up to make sure he didn't make contact. So either it was James trying a little too hard, or possibly trying to make a move on the exit to get past Shaw. Either way, James has now got to try and do it all over again. His chances of a podium may possibly have disappeared, but he'll have to try and use superior pace he appears to have to make it work. So Bush leads at the end of lap 3. The Caterham Academy car. As we look back, there's one car off. There was one car off into the barriers. It's number 38, and that is Lovett from 8th position. Didn't spot that on the cameras, but Dominik Mansberger is into 2nd place now. He's struggling for grip under brakes as he turns in. There is 4th place Taylor O'Flanagan. There is James Walker recovering after his spin earlier at Lodge Corner. He's now got himself into the top 5 again, and he's trying to chase after O'Flanagan. He was almost a second quicker than the man in 4th place to try and catch back up again. And I can hear the rain falling even harder on the top of our current commentary position. So I have to say, every single one of these Academy drivers in both groups are absolute heroes for coping with these conditions. The gap is now 1.1 seconds between Hugo Bush and Dominik Mansberger. There are the leading two as they head into Cascades once again. This is on lap 7. They've got roughly 5 minutes to go. And here is a scrap for 3rd between Simon Shaw with the yellow Caterham with the black nose, and then the all-yellow Caterham with the black roll bar. That is Taylor O'Flanagan. He regularly works for the Car Chase Heroes company, where they deal with quite a few different sports cars, such as old Mustangs and Aston Martins and Ferraris and Lamborghinis, but he's got a Caterham under his foot here, and he's going for 3rd place into Island Bend, the two cars side by side. But incredibly, Shaw has got enough confidence to hold on to the outside line on the run towards Shell Oils. and maintains the place. Shuts the door firmly in Taylor's face and holds on as they come up through the banked right-hander. Hug the apex and fire out the other side, and you can see here that O'Flanagan has really got his tail up now. He wants to see if he can pick up a podium place on his very first race. And 2 different lines into the Britain chicane. And now up over the crest of Hilltop and down towards the chicane. You can see that the 2 leaders have closed up a little more. And look in the background, because James Walker's also charging along, and he will be benefiting from this battle, because the harder these 2 fight each other, the easier it's going to be, not only for the leading 2 to carry on pulling away, but also for James Walker to get himself involved, as Simon Shaw just finding a little bit too much oversteer than he would like, and they are crawling out there in these wet conditions as James Walker continues to apply the pressure up over Clay Hill and under the bridge, under the canopy of the trees. And let's see if O'Flanagan's got anything to try and make a move. There are the top 2, nose to tail. I think a move might be imminent here, unless Hugo Busch can keep Germany's Dominic Mansberger at bay. And still, Shaw holds on in front of O'Flanagan. I wonder if he's possibly just biding his time a little bit. And they are side by side on the sprint now, down towards the right-hander at Lodge. And with the inside line and the better run into the corner, it is 3rd place for Taylor O'Flanagan. But is Simon Shaw going to get him back on the exit? He's going to try and put himself alongside. He might get squeezed towards the pit wall, but eventually he has to sit behind O'Flanagan in his spray, with the knowledge that James Walker, if he can see in his mirrors, is closing fast. He's about to win on his debut in his very first race. Dominic Mansberger heads to the checkered flag and wins the first race of the season in the Caterham Academy White Group for 2020. A brilliant wet weather performance to climb up through the order and pick up the victory. Hugo Busch, who started on pole, finishes in 2nd place. Taylor O'Flanagan gets 3rd. 4th place for Simon Shaw, but only by 0.3 of a second from James Walker. So Mr. JWW with a top 5 on his debut in the wet. What a drive.
How was that, Jake?
Crikey. Talk about adrenaline, man. So didn't end quite as planned, but it was the adrenaline, man. It's ridiculous. There is nothing like really close to racing. It's unreal. So started on the grid in 2nd. I clearly had a very bad start on the grid, because I was just like sort of sat there, wheels spinning up, and 4 cars came past me as if I was stood in a car park. First few laps were okay. Got back, I think, up into 3rd, I think it was, and then on one of the laps, it's all a big blur, had a major spin and stalled the car in the middle of the track after having a fairly substantial off, at which point I kind of lost count of the amount of cars that went past me. Made some up, but on the way, the racing was fantastic. It's so good. I mean, there are times when your wheels are interlocked with the guy in front of you. It's just exceptional, man. I'm so pumped. Shame it didn't work out better in terms of, grid places, but in terms of racing, man, there's just nothing like it. You wouldn't believe, when you read about these things on paper, they don't look too powerful, but the racing is as close as you'll ever want. It's just outstanding. Lots to learn for future wet races, namely clutch control at the start. So let me calm down and then we'll debrief some more. First race down, first race signature, and ultimately, I mean, the whole point of this is it's the very start of a racing journey, which right now I've got no idea where it will lead, but the value in this series is incredible because the racing's so pure, it's so close, and actually, they're not the fastest cars, so if you scrub any speed, it just magnifies the fact that you might have got your cornering wrong or braking wrong, so the cars teach you so much. So now I need to go back home, look at my onboard and find out which areas went wrong. For me, outside of the spin, the start, I just obviously got a bit carried away with the throttle and just sat there spinning up as 4 cars just left me. So clutch control in the wet. As always, thanks so much for watching and I will see you next time. Ciao.